So Peter, you just said something that made me think that we need to talk with the audience about as well, and that's monetization. So just a couple of years back, if you talk to a broadcaster and they wanted to get that live signal up and processed and delivered to an audience, the commercials were the commercials. It wasn't something they were thinking about. Today it's table stakes. So you've got to come in the door, whether it's a live channel or on-demand assets, and be able to help them make money off of that content. Yep. Let's touch on that a little bit, and we'll talk about, let's start with VOD. So talk about how we're able to help monetize libraries of content for our users.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's critical, right? Because you've got all the acquisition and processing, which is upstream, but really when it comes down to it, you are in the business of making money, right? So you have to understand, what is your business model? What are the experiences that you want to drive to the consumer, whether that's AVOD, TVOD, or SVOD? And then based around that, then how do you then get closer to the consumer to evolve those experiences? So understanding what content is relevant to them and understanding what are the churn predictors that you would have on that content to know who your customer base is. So really, I think there's a level of sophistication there that the industry has kind of started to catch up with, that it's not just about enabling your content, whether that's an AVOD or an SVOD experience, but it's how you blend that and what are the different windows to maximize the value of that content. And it's exciting, but it also requires you to really understand your consumer.
And the same thing applies with live, right, Joe? I mean, we just talked about getting really nerdy and talking about SCUDdy markers, and they're, again, as video experts and infrastructure people, it's an everyday term to us, but the audience may not understand what it means, but let's talk about what that means, though, in terms of live ad monetization. So we're able to read those markers in a broadcast and be able to mark the presence of a break so that our customers who have live channels can put different ads in there and monetize them.
Yeah, absolutely. And similar to the VOD world, like Peter was explaining, understanding where those ad breaks are ahead of time within your schedule of events, and understanding where those signal points are going to happen within that live linear stream, so that you can actually predict where that ad's going to be, the duration of the ad, to be able to make a smart decision based on your audience profiles. We do a lot of things like subscriber information integration, addressable advertising is another term that's thrown out there. But marking those segments within the live video stream to be able to make a call up to an ad decisioning service that can give you a smarter ad to be placed in that video stream. Doing that real time and executing against that is difficult, but being able to get out in front and put those SCUDdy markers in there, understanding the schedule, and understanding your audience ahead of time makes it a little bit easier.
And I'm a bit opinionated, but I'd say doing that at massive scale is even harder. But with the infrastructure and the brand that we operate under, we're able to do that every day.
We do, and we do that today with Comcast.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point you bring up, Matt. I think it's the consideration in how we build our services, to build them at scale, to build in that resiliency, to have that SLA that we live and breathe it with Comcast and Xfinity, but we also understand that that's what our consumers expect. That again, the industry has evolved where the original intent to get content and make it available in digital experiences, now there's a critical mass adoption that it's considered your content has to be available just as it is for broadcast. Mm-hmm. So there's high expectations there, but again, we understand that that's how we have to build out our services to allow for that.
Yeah, we were touching on that a little bit earlier, and I tell people that streaming, in essence, has to be better than broadcast. We have to be equivalent, and then ideally add services and interactivity that maybe makes that experience even richer. And that's something we do every day here.
Yeah, because we're seeing consumers are consuming the content from all these 10-foot devices, right? So they're not watching across, in some cases, the traditional set-top box. They are looking at it from different devices, and they expect that same experience. And you have to have that same quality. So it's a challenge, but it certainly it requires you to consider that as you design and implement any of these services to have that. And one point we talked about earlier was on the SCUDdy 224 and the linear rights distribution. We're seeing now that the rights are based around specific devices, particularly when we talk about sporting rights. You'll see that across getting access to, you talk about NFL content or it's across devices now, because I know that when I go to watch it on certain devices, I see that you're restricted to watch this content. So that's something we have to consider and build out. I know that's again, something across the 224 standard that we have to be able to execute across particular devices based on particular content rights. And we have to do it in real time, and we have to do it at scale.
And again, to beat that drum, that's something that we do on the other side of the business as a core competency every day. And that just feeds into what we offer from a services perspective. We know this, it's in our DNA, so we can't just shrug our shoulders and say, sorry, Mr. Customer, I can't do that. We're used to doing it every day, and we're able to incorporate it into what we do from a services perspective.
I think that even though we see a shift from the way content's being delivered, whether it's VOD content, linear content, we still apply that broadcast perspective, that broadcast quality and experience that Comcast has delivered year after year. We're bringing that to a over-the-top industry, and having, whether it's streaming over the internet or cloud processing, or if it's on-premise processing, that we would the same processing stack that we would use in our own broadcast facilities. We offer flexibility on how to get those channels out to market.